started as a joke. We were bored, reckless seniors with too much time and a few too many beers in our system. Saturday nights in our town were dead, unless you made your own fun. That night, our fun came in the form of a dare. Break into Jefferson High, wander around, and take a selfie in the old boiler room. No one had been down there since the flooding freshman year, and they'd welded the basement door shut, so they said. But the thing is, it wasn't. I went with Chase, Bree, and Kenny. Chase had a crowbar because of course he did. He thought it made him look cool. We got in through the side door by the gym. The lock was rusted and practically fell apart in Chase's hands. The place was dark, hollow, and cold in a way that didn't match the weather outside. You could hear your own breath echoing. Bree laughed too loud, and I told her to shut up. We weren't supposed to be here. There were cameras in the hallways, but the power was out, or at least it seemed out. We were halfway to the basement stairs when Kenny stopped walking. "Guys," he whispered, "do you smell that?" It was like something was burning, but not wood, hair, and maybe something else, something thicker. It got stronger the closer we got to the stairwell, like it was pulling us down. That's when we noticed the marks on the floor, chalky white symbols smeared along the linoleum as if someone had tried to scrub them off. Circles with jagged lines, triangles inside of eyes, things that felt wrong just to look at. We followed them without speaking. The basement door was open, not just unlocked, wide open, swinging slightly like it had just been pushed. The smell hit us in the face then, and I swear to God, it made my stomach twist. Chase was still trying to play tough, so he went first, shining his phone flashlight down the steps. But the light flickered, not glitched, flickered, like it was alive. "I don't think we should go down there," I said, but no one listened. Halfway down the stairs, the temperature dropped. I could see my breath, but we were sweating from the adrenaline. The cement steps turned slick, like something wet had been dragged up and down them for hours. We reached the bottom. That's when we heard it, chanting, low, repetitive. Words I didn't recognize, but felt like they weren't meant to be heard by anything still alive. The basement had been bigger than I remembered. It was like the walls had been pushed back, or maybe they never ended. Candles lit the far corners, casting shadows that didn't match the movement of the flames. I saw them then, figures in robes, faces hidden, all kneeling around a circle etched into the ground with something dark and metallic. Blood. It had to be. In the middle of the circle, something was writhing, not human. It was made of too many limbs, and none of them bent the right way. One of the figures turned its head and looked at us. No eyes, just void. And somehow I knew it could see me. We ran, at least I thought we did. I remember turning, grabbing Bree's arm, but when I looked back, Chase was gone. No scream, no sound, just gone. Kenny froze on the stairs, staring down into the dark. "We're not supposed to be here," he kept whispering. "They saw us. They see us." That's when the power came back on, all at once. But only the emergency red lights. The figures began to rise. We bolted up the stairs, but it felt like they were stretching, like we were running in place. I swear I felt hands brush my back, cold and slick. We slammed the door behind us, but there was no lock, so we ran, out the same way we came, into the street, into the night. We didn't stop until we hit the woods. We tried to go back for Chase. The cops said they found nothing, no candles, no markings, no door even open. The basement, they said, had never been unlocked. But every night since then, I've heard the chanting. It starts low, barely audible, always around 3:03 a.m. I haven't slept in weeks. And last night, when I checked my phone, I found a photo I didn't take. It's of the boiler room, and in the middle is Chase, smiling, surrounded by hooded figures. Behind them, the door is shut from the inside. It was supposed to be a quick favor. Stay behind after the fall play, help clean up, maybe flirt a little with Amy from the costume crew, then bounce. Easy extra credit. No big deal. I was a freshman, awkward, a little too quiet, a little too into horror movies and history. Not the guy who usually volunteered for things, but I'd heard from upperclassmen that Mr. Avery, the tech supervisor, gave out easy A's if you helped him strike the set. I needed the grade. Plus, Amy smiled at me once during dress rehearsal, so yeah, I stayed. Everyone else left by 7:30. I remember because I checked my phone while sweeping glitter off the stage. The air backstage still smelled like fog machine fluid and someone's leftover Subway sandwich. The hallway lights were already dim, and the theater doors echoed as the last cast members pushed them open and vanished into the night. Mr. Avery told me he was heading to his car for something, some toolbox or extension cord, I think. He walked out through the back loading dock door, letting it slam behind him. That was the last time I ever saw him. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I texted him. No reply. I tried calling, straight to voicemail. By 8:15, I figured he'd ditched me. Probably forgot I was even still inside. I shrugged it off. I'm not gonna lie. I was actually kind of excited to be in the school alone at night. Thought it would feel cool, rebellious. I even took a stupid selfie on stage and captioned it, Lone Tech Crew Warrior, #TheaterKidLife. Then I heard the doors shut. All of them. One by one, in sequence. Clang, clang, clang. Like someone walking through the halls, slamming every door they passed. I called out, thinking maybe it was security. No answer. I went to the main lobby. The front doors were chained, not just locked, but bound with rusted iron chains that looked way too old to belong in a modern school. I swear I could smell them. This metallic, earthy scent like old blood and damp basements. There were padlocks too, massive ones, the kind with engraved numbers and weird symbols on them. I touched one and pulled back immediately. It was ice cold, like it had been sitting in a freezer. That's when I started to panic. My phone had no signal, not even a flicker of Wi-Fi. The school router was always trash, but this was different. Emergency calls only kept blinking on my screen like a taunt. I started pounding on the doors, yelling for help. That's when I heard the rope. A long, slow creak. It came from behind me, from the stage. At first I thought maybe a sandbag had come loose from the rigging. I turned around and looked through the glass doors into the theater. Everything was dark, except the red exit signs glowing like embers, but the sound kept going, rhythmic, measured, like the swing of a pendulum. I stepped inside, pushing through the thick black curtains, and then I saw it. Something was hanging from the rigging. At first it looked like a mannequin, just swaying, but then it moved its arm, and I knew right then it wasn't a prop. It was a person. No, not a person, a corpse, dressed in old colonial clothes like something out of a textbook. His skin was purple and bloated. His tongue hung out, black and cracked. His eyes were open, and they were staring at me. Then His head twitched. Not a casual movement, like a full, sharp jerk, like he'd just noticed me standing there. I turned and ran. I tore through the backstage area, knocking over chairs and paint cans, bolting down the long hallway toward the library. The lights flickered as I passed, buzzing overhead. Somewhere behind me, I heard footsteps, but not fast ones. Slow, dragging steps, and under that, the creak of rope. I ducked into the records room, an old storage closet they kept full of archived student files and dusty yearbooks, slammed the door and locked it behind me. I pressed my back to the wall, trying to breathe, trying to make my brain work. Then I heard the whispering, not in English, or maybe it was, but too old, too warped to understand. It came from the vents, the walls, the floor. The voices overlapped, dozens of them muttering in anger. I felt them more than I heard them. It was like being underwater, with people arguing on the shore, muffled, distant, but furious. One voice rose above the others. It was wet and hoarse, like someone choking on water. He bears the mark. I didn't know what it meant, but I looked down at my wrist, and my stomach dropped. There was something there, something I hadn't noticed before. A thin red line wrapped around my wrist like a rope burn. I hadn't touched any ropes that night. I backed away from the door, heart pounding. That's when I saw the plaque, half hidden behind an old file cabinet, tarnished, almost unreadable. I brushed it off and read it in the dim light of the emergency bulb overhead. This auditorium stands on the original foundation of the Hamilton County Courthouse, built 1731. 9 men were tried and executed by hanging. The original gallows stood in the exact location of the stage. Something under the floor thudded. Then again, thud, 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 like fists pounding upward. The tiles cracked. I saw something pushing through, a pale, clawed hand. Then another. They scraped against the linoleum, reaching, grasping. I ran. I don't remember how I got to the gym. I just remember the doors bursting open and the cold air rushing past me. I found one of the old climbing ropes hanging from the ceiling, the kind nobody uses anymore. I climbed. It burned my hands, tore skin, but I made it to the window, broke it with a dumbbell. The glass shredded my arm, but I didn't care. I pulled myself through the jagged frame, dropped 12 feet, and hit the grass hard enough to knock the air from my lungs. I ran all the way home. When my parents opened the door, I was covered in blood, glass, and tears. They thought I'd been mugged. When I told them what happened, they thought I hit my head. But the mark on my wrist didn't fade, not for weeks. It stayed there like a scar. I still have a faint line to this day. The police searched the school. They didn't find chains, or padlocks, or a plaque. Mr. Avery, they said he quit, disappeared, never came back for his paycheck. The drama department moved their next show to the gym, said the stage was under renovation. Something about foundational instability. But I know the truth. There are 9 bodies buried under that stage. 9 souls that never left. And if you stand there long enough, in the dark, you'll hear them. You'll hear the rope. You'll hear the whisper. And if you ever feel something tighten around your wrist, run. They say college is where you find yourself. I didn't expect to find myself hiding in a janitor's closet, holding my breath while a murderer crept down the hallway. It started around 11:43 p.m. I was holed up in the journalism building, 3rd floor, cramming for an ethics exam. The place was dead quiet, just me, the hum of old fluorescents, and the occasional click of my laptop keys. Then my phone buzzed. I remember the screen glowing red. Emergency alert. Campus lockdown. Escaped inmate. Believed to be armed and dangerous. Lock doors. Stay inside. Remain silent. I blinked at it. Thought maybe it was a drill. Then I heard the sirens. Far off at first. Then closer. Wailing down University Avenue like banshees. I locked the door. Killed the lights. Started texting my roommate, but the messages wouldn't send. Of course they wouldn't. The whole building was a dead zone unless you were by a window. And that's when I heard it. Footsteps in the stairwell, slow, deliberate, not the panicked shuffle of a student. Heavy boots, the kind that echo. I stayed low, crawling behind the desk, peered under the door. The hallway was empty. Then knock, knock, knock. Not at my door. One down the hall, then another, and another. Like he was checking every room. Calm, methodical. I didn't breathe. There was a window at the far end of the hallway. If I could just make it there, maybe I'd get a bar of service. Call 911. But the hallway might as well have been a mile. And he was out there. Another knock. Closer. Then a whisper, low and raspy. Come on out. I just want to talk. My blood turned to ice. I remembered a shortcut, the janitor's closet across from the lecture hall. It had a grate that opened into the maintenance tunnel. If I could get there, maybe I could reach the science building. Maybe even a security office. I waited until I heard the stairwell door creak open again. Then I bolted, shoes slapping the floor, heart in my throat. I reached the closet, slipped inside, and closed the door behind me as quietly as I could. My hands shook as I turned the lock. I waited, listening. Silence. Then, scraping. Something metal dragged along the floor, and breathing, just outside the door. Smart little rat, the voice whispered. But rats get tired. I shoved a mop bucket in front of the door, looked up at the ceiling. The grate was there, too high. I pulled over a shelf, stacked a box on it, and climbed. The metal groaned under me, but I managed to push the grate open and slide into the tunnel. Pitch black. I couldn't see more than a few inches ahead, but I started crawling. My back scraped the top. The tunnel smelled like mildew and rust. My phone screen lit up the darkness just enough. 5 missed alerts. All the same. Suspect sighted near West Campus buildings. Stay in place. I was East Campus. That meant he'd doubled back. I kept crawling until I heard it. Clang. A vent behind me, opening. He was in the tunnel. I panicked, started crawling faster, banging my knees, scraping my elbows. Behind me I heard him, breathing heavy, metal tools scraping along the tunnel. He was getting closer. Finally, I saw light. The vent to the science building. I kicked it open, fell out onto the tile floor, and ran. Every room was dark, locked tight. I pounded on a door with a red exit sign above it, screaming for help. Then I saw him. At the end of the hallway, tall, blood on his shirt, grinning like he'd already won, and he started walking toward me, slow, confident. The door behind me clicked. Someone opened it, a security guard. I screamed, shoved past him, and looked back. But the hallway was empty. No man, no blood, just silence. They searched the building, never found anyone. Told me I must have panicked, that the lockdown was over, that the suspect was already caught on the other side of campus. But I know what I saw. And every night since, I've heard a knock at my dorm door. 3 knocks. Always just past midnight.